One thing I've noticed across a number of companies is that even if they believe in the idea of sort of paved road, secure default, secure guardrails, even if there is executive leadership buy-in, they want to do it, they still find it difficult for various reasons, whether that's cross-organizational dynamics or the rate at which product needs to get shipped, or even knowing where to start. So there's a bunch of ways that I feel like this initiative, even if people want to do it, it doesn't happen, or it's harder. So I'm curious, yeah, how do you think about tactically, actionably doing secure defaults?
You can have executive buy-in, you can have people working on it, and it still can be really hard to get right. And I'm reminded of several years ago when I was at Duo, we released a tool called Parliament, which you can still find
Mm-hmm,
on the Duo
mm-hmm,
Labs GitHub site. And the Parliament tool was a linter for AWS IAM. And the reason we had to build that is because it's so easy to mess up AWS IAM policies. And like this is a great example to me of like it's actually super hard most of the time to get things correctly configured from a security standpoint, or where correct is some function of like industry agreeable safe defaults, or an expression of your company's policy and risk tolerance in the form of settings and policies or YAML files for whatever tool that you're using. It's just really hard to get right, and then keep it right. So we released that tool in part to as
mm-hmm.
a response to the fact that like it was hard to get AWS IAM right. So we just gave away the thing that we were doing to everybody else when I was at Duo.
Hmm.
But this problem shows up everywhere, right? I mean, the funny thing is there are actually segments of the market that exist because of this. Like if you look at
Yeah, yeah.
the some of the like CSPM capabilities and I'm just thinking about like other tools that are around that doing like SaaS security well. Part of the reason
Mm-hmm.
they exist is because it's super hard and there aren't safe defaults from the platform providers, or it's hard to use those safe defaults from the platform providers, or it's hard to know what a good security configuration looks like out of the box because the tool doesn't express those opinions to you and how it's designed for customers. And this is just such a
Mm-hmm.
fascinating like set of incentives if you think about it, because the consequences of that don't actually affect the platform provider at all. In fact, they roll all the way down to the consumers of whatever thing was built on that platform. And this is one of the like sort of more interesting misaligned incentive problems that I think exists in
Mm-hmm.
security today, and partly why I was glad that after Log4j, the public sector is clearly getting more involved in expressing an opinion on these topics. So the Biden administration published their national strategy to secure cyberspace. I think it was in May of last year. And one of the things I was actually pretty happy to see was they basically said, look, if you're one of these platform providers, or you're sort of one of the big dogs in the industry, and you're in a position to do things that help, you should do them. And that includes making it harder for people to footgun themselves or misconfigure something. Because we know that like the vast majority of breaches are from misconfigurations or inability to like patch and configure something properly, which is just a total shame because we're also not giving the right amount of help to have them just be secure out of the box. So you're not fixing them. They are fixed at the onset. So obviously on the GitHub side, we're working hard to try to make safer defaults for how people interact with GitHub. We required everybody to enroll in 2FA. It's not enough to just say, hey, this is the right thing to do. We just said everybody's just going to do it, and we're going to spend the time figuring out how to get that right. But I'd love to see more platform providers invest in things like that, because if each security team individually has to create their own bespoke guardrails for things, we're going to continue to be behind in this space. And if I had a dollar for like every time I had to say, hey, when you start, you should apply the whatever benchmark to the thing is that you're doing. Let's say it's the CSA benchmarks for a particular project. It's like, well, wouldn't it be great if would that just happened? And we'd probably put some of these companies out of business, but we'd also probably have a lot fewer security incidents that stem from misconfiguration, unsafe configurations out of the box, lack of clarity, frankly, on what good even looks like. So the platform providers
Mm-hmm.
really, I think, need to be a big part of balancing the ability to have speed and innovation, right? Which obviously with cloud computing and infrastructure as a service, we have, effectively extremely low barriers to entry to be able to spin anything up at any given time. But we need to figure out how to balance that with the security aspects of that and make sure that the thing that you manifest is only what you need and it's adequately secured. and it's something that's maintainable, that becomes, I think, one of the most important challenges to make sure that we can actually have safe and secure defaults, especially for small teams that, I mean, a lot of companies that are probably under 100 employees don't probably even have a security team. Yet, ironically, when they're small, that's the best time to make cheap and effective security decisions that they'll be happy about 10 years later. So I think that work in the platform space, and again, pressure from the public sector to see people who are in positions of influence or companies that have products that are in positions to influence these outcomes taking a more active role in getting it right the first time, or helping make sure it's hard for people to get it wrong. That's actually, I think, where the most effective work around guardrails is going to happen.